and most people are so unprepared. Don't go into this blinded, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing is going to stop what has begun. It's Friday, May 20th, 2022. Quick video today. I want to recap on what took place in these markets. And I would love to get your thoughts and opinions, so please comment down below. But we watched more magic tricks take place today. And really, the way these markets ended today was just more of the BS that we've been watching take place in these fraudulent Ponzi scheme markets. Dow Jones was down at one point today, 617 points. NASDAQ was down over 300 points. Markets just closed about a half hour ago. Dow Jones up 7 points. NASDAQ only down 33 points. Russell, S&P down. But we were really on the verge of seeing another crushed market today. Is really the only way I can put it. These markets were really in big trouble, and they were really on the verge of really getting crushed. So what did they do? How did they fix it today? Well, as soon as they wheeled out James Bullard, Fed president, he came out and he basically stopped the bleeding, calmed the markets, and he said, no recession this year. And I'm going to kind of paraphrase the interview that I watched, but he came out and said he doesn't expect a recession this year. He says that GDP is going to grow. We're going to see positive GDP. It's going to grow at a very strong level. So he was basically just pumping this whole thing up, trying to stop the bleeding, calm the markets, turn them around, and that's exactly what happened. The last 30 minutes, everything just turned around. It's like they triggered the algorithms and everything was good. If you're going into this weekend thinking everything's going to be okay, you're sadly mistaken. You have a false sense of security. They are doing everything they can now to hold these markets together, while Jim Bullard came out today and said that the Fed will continue to be aggressive. Expect more 50 basis point rate hikes, possible 75 basis point rate hikes somewhere. The Fed has to move aggressively, he said. But it's amazing. They were really on the cusp of a really devastating day today. I mean, we could have lost another 1,000 points on the Dow today, quite easily. So they had to wheel out Jim Bullard, and he had to calm everything down. So again, if you're heading into the weekend feeling better about this, I wouldn't. I'd be scared to death. This is when I see days like today, where we're down over 600 points, and they pull all the levers and press all the buttons to save this thing. This just reinforces with me, and I'm sure it's reinforcing with you, just how bad things really are and how rigged these markets are. These markets are so fake and so rigged, and people just believe that as long as they go up, as long as the Fed comes out and says nice things and saves them on a daily basis, it's going to be okay. They will lose control, and they're beginning to lose control, ladies and gentlemen. I would have no confidence whatsoever being in these markets at this point. I am completely out of these markets, been out of these markets for a very, very long time, except for some very, very specific, very risky mining stocks. That's it. But otherwise, completely out of these markets. This thing is rigged. They are losing control. And this is how desperate they are, that they have to bring Jim Bullard out to calm everything down. And with all that, all they could do is get the Dow Jones up 7 points today, and they couldn't save the Russell, the NASDAQ, or the S&P, all in the red. Fox Business had a guest on today, and this is just more of the garbage being spewed out there. And to me, more of the fraud, telling people that everything's going to be okay. But I was watching Fox Business, and they had a guest on. I didn't get his name, but this guy comes out very arrogant and just, you know, has all the answers. He said everything that is happening to these markets is completely normal. And all it is a 20% correction. Deal with it. The economy, he says, is booming. The economy is roaring. He said if the Fed raises rates this year to 3.5%, this year, don't worry, that's a normal rate. What he doesn't seem to understand is everything outside of the rates is abnormal. None of this is normal. You have debt exceeding $31 trillion. You've had interest rates at zero for a decade. You've had trillions of dollars pumped in to the economy, pumped into these markets. That's not normal. So when you throw normal rates into an abnormal market, you're going to have problems. But he says, don't worry. This is normal, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going to have a hard landing. We're not going to have a soft landing. Everything is just going to be fine. Comment down below how many of you think that there will be no hard landing, that we'll have no soft landing, or we will have a hard landing, we'll have a soft landing, we won't land at all. Comment down below. Is this gentleman right that we shouldn't be concerned, nothing to worry about, just deal with it, and everything is going to be just fine? So while the guest on Fox Business was telling all of us not to worry, there'll be no crash landing, deal with this, everything's going to be fine, I was reading an article last night by Michael Snyder on his site, theeconomiccollapse.com. And this article is titled, "The 12 Nightmarish Economic Trends That We Should Expect to See in the Second Half of 2022. Quite the opposite of what I just watched on the television. I'm going to share some of these with you. I have most of them, 10 or 11 of them written down here, and I'll paraphrase. But this is really concerning information, and another reason why all of us need to be preparing. 85% of Americans expect a recession, according to this article. So how can 85% of Americans be expecting a recession, but this gentleman that I just watched on a financial channel is saying that there'll be no crash landing, interest rate hikes will have no effect on us, this is all normal, don't worry about it, go back to your business. I don't know. Gas prices will continue to surge. I think that's a guarantee. Extended blackouts. I cannot stress the importance of having food and water put away. And while watching these channels, these financial channels, the guests, the hosts, the anchors, the economists, the consultants, nobody ever talks about having food put away, water put away. Nobody talks about reinforcing your security. If the power goes out, you're on your own, ladies and gentlemen. And if it goes out for days or a week or weeks, you know that you're going to see a huge surge in crime. Criminals love blackouts. They love when the power goes out. They love when the grids go down. Texas had 6 grids go down already. Make sure you're prepared for the worst case scenario. To continue with this article, supply chain stress, so expect more shortages. Global food crisis increasing. Hunger will lead to social issues globally. Again, make sure you have food, water, and security. Interest rates will continue to rise. It's going to be very negative for the housing market. Housing market will see big trouble. Going to see defaults in housing. Going to see defaults with people falling behind on their car payments, credit card payments, mortgages, you name it. People are going to continue to fall behind on their debts. And also, it mentions in this article, get ready for layoffs. Talked about this yesterday. If you didn't see my show yesterday, please go and watch it. But I foresee, as many of you do, many of you have already written in the comments, you've lost your job, a family member, a friend has already lost a job. And we're going to continue to see layoffs. You're not going to be alone, that's for sure. As companies are earning less money, they're going to have to cut the fat. They're going to have to lay people off. They're going to shrink down. And so be aware that layoffs are coming. If you can take on a side hustle or 2 side hustles right now, go do it. This is the time right now to be building up the emergency fund, to pile up as much cash as you can. CNBC, emergency savings takes a hit as households adjust their finances amid high inflation, study shows. 1/3 of adults are putting less money in their emergency fund so that they are able to cover their everyday expenses. How do people ever get ahead right now, if they can't save money, they can't put money away because their bills are so high, the rent is so high, gas prices, food prices, I mean, they're getting dinged everywhere. And so the average American now is having a very, very hard time putting money away. How does somebody put enough money away for a down payment on a house if they're just using money now to just pay everyday expenses? And heaven forbid an emergency pops up, transmission, alternator, kid falls down, needs to go to urgent care, hundreds or even thousands of dollars. This spells the end for millions of people. Now, I wonder, according to this article, they're talking about 1/3 of adults. I wonder about the other 2/3 that the article doesn't mention. Those are probably the people who have absolutely no money in savings, no money in an emergency fund, period. Because we know most Americans now have absolutely zero money saved up. Most Americans are reliant on a credit card to save them if there's an emergency, if they have to pay rent, they're going to the grocery store, they're filling up the gas tank. They're now reliant on the credit card because the savings is gone. The stimulus is gone. The unemployment benefits is gone. The child tax credit's gone. Another article today, electricity and power collapse. Lake Mead has now dropped below 1,050 feet. Only 5 of the dam's turbines are operational out of 17. 5 out of 17 turbines operational. We talk daily now about this food crisis and the lack of food on the shelves and how it's going to get worse. We don't talk about the water crisis. Make sure you're putting water away, especially here in California. This is going to be a big, big problem for the state of California and other desert states. Water. So Lake Mead now dropping below 1,050 feet, and I think it's losing 3 inches a day, if I'm correct. The Hedge. Build blackouts better. Half of America faces power blackouts this summer, regulator warns. A report from North American Electric Reliability Corp reported that tens of millions of Americans are at risk. And as you know, it's 115, 120 degrees here in the desert. If we run into a water issue, we run into a power issue, it is very, very dangerous. You cannot live out here in the desert without air conditioning when it's 115, 120, even 125 degrees. People die. Another article on The Hedge, Jim Rickards, we are on the precipice. And many of you know Jim Rickards used to work for the central bank. Very, very smart guy. He says, I don't believe many grasp the enormity of the global food crisis that we will be facing in the months ahead. He didn't say years ahead, months ahead. Today, I stress with all of you heading into this weekend, go and get food. If you can order some emergency food, get some emergency food with a long shelf life. Add some canned food with that, bottled water. Get yourself a Berkey so you can purify water. Get a jet boil so you can warm up your food. Get a trauma kit. Get extra vitamins. If you can get extra pharmaceuticals, do it. Just get whatever you can get now. Whatever you can afford to get. I think this is money well spent. 29% of all wheat exports are in jeopardy. Remember, Russia and Ukraine together produce 29% of all global wheat exports and 19% of all global corn exports. 2 very, very important commodities. People think that if it gets bad, they'll just leave the cities and go to the country and live off the land and hunt and fish. And these people are delusional. Most people won't even be able to get out of the cities because there will be no gas. If the power goes down, the pumps don't work. Now we're hearing about gas shortages, diesel shortages. How far will people even be able to get when the pumps don't even have gas, when the power goes out? It would be a catastrophic mess. So don't rely that you're going to drive a couple hundred miles into the country and survive. Most people have no skill set, no survival skills. Most people can barely cook a microwave meal, let alone skin an animal, and clean it and cook it. So I think a lot of people are very, very delusional because most of them will never be able to even get out of the cities to begin with. And you have to ask yourself today, how long would you be able to survive without food? How long will you go without water? You can't go without water but a few days. Food, you can go longer. What is it, 3 days without water, 30 days without food, 3 seconds or 30 seconds without oxygen. Most people are going to be in very, very big trouble. And now people don't have money to go out and buy these preparations. And this is why tens, if not hundreds of millions of people are in such big trouble. When they had money, they spent it on things they didn't need, when they should have been spending it on real preparations like food and water, security, gold, silver. You have to remember that at some point, all this dust will settle. Some monetary system will rise. And you got to have real money. A lot of people will say, well, JB, you can't eat gold and silver. It's worthless. It's all, you got to have food. You have to also understand this, that when all this is over, and to me, my opinion, the world is not coming to an end. The world is changing. We're going to see a new monetary system, maybe a new world reserve currency. I don't know, but what I do know is the world's not coming to an end. We will still be here. Your world is going to change. Your standard of living is going to change. And a lot of people just believe, well, if I have rice and beans and water, I'm going to survive and be okay. Well, you may be okay as long as you can protect your rice and beans. Otherwise, somebody's just going to take it. But what happens when the dust settles and things begin to calm down? You got to have money, because rice and beans is not going to buy you a house. Rice and beans isn't going to buy you 10 acres. What I truly believe is going to buy you a house, what is real money, what will buy you 10 acres is gold and silver. And a lot of people go, well, who's going to take your gold and silver? Well, I don't know. Why are central banks stockpiling it? Why is China, Russia, India stockpiling gold and silver? Why are people in Venezuela shaving grams of gold in order to buy food, in order to get a haircut, in order to pay their bills? Why is it that at the worst of times, we go back to the most simple of times, and people are going to go back to simplicity? The world knows what gold is. It's God's money. It's never going away. It's real money. So yes, rice and beans are fantastic during the collapse. So what about after the collapse? You have to think ahead here. You have to put yourself in a position to win, a position to prosper. You gotta have real, hard, tangible assets, real money that the world recognizes as the true money, not a currency, not a paper, true money, gold and silver, physical, not paper, and put it where you can get to it. Because I think that we're going to go through some very, very severe times here. We're going to be very tested. Americans have gotten very soft and they've gotten very spoiled. And I think the average American is going to be in shock with their standard of living, that standard of living that is beginning right now. We've become so accustomed to getting what we want, so accustomed to having a restaurant on every corner, accustomed to free money, accustomed to this lifestyle, accustomed that the Fed is going to save the markets and everything is always going to go up, up, and up. My home prices are going to go up, up, and up, and that we're never going to go through tough times, that the markets can't correct, that they can't collapse, that housing prices can't come down. And many people have never seen this. And most of us, probably none of us watching this today, have ever gone through the Great Depression that your grandparents went through. And we're not ready for this. I'm not ready for this. Even though I've prepared more than most people, I don't feel I'm really ready for this, but I'm working on it on a daily basis. So I stress to all of you, take this weekend and go and get extra food, water, get candles, get matches, get necessities, get preparations, get extra medicines, vitamins, and really you need a tourniquet, you need a trauma kit. So important. But so much is about to happen, and most people are so unprepared. Don't go into this blinded, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing is going to stop what has begun. Last article coming from the economic collapse. Utter carnage. The stock market is coming apart like a $20 suit, no doubt about it. And we witnessed that again today. Dow Jones down over 600 points before they wheeled out Fed President Jim Bullard to stop the bleeding. They'll do whatever they have to do to keep this thing together, but you know as well as I do, this whole thing is unraveling. The standard of living, as I said earlier, is collapsing right now for millions of people. U.S. households spending $5,000 a year now on gasoline. A year ago, they were spending $2,800, now almost double. Mortgage applications are tumbling, down 12% from a week ago. And we're going to see continued rises in mortgage rates. We're going to see the Fed's fund rate continue to rise. And as this happens, rates are going to kill the economy, and they're going to kill jobs. So if you have a job right now, make sure that you really continue to do a good job to keep that job. Get side hustles. If you don't have a job right now, there's no excuse. Go out there and get some side hustles. These people who always make these excuses that, you know, they're not paying me enough, it's not my career, why should I work? You are making a huge mistake. You must be preparing right now. I think that we're going to see a reverse here. 180 degree turn here, where, you know, people don't want to work, but then you're going to see people in desperation wanting to work, and people are going to take on jobs that they never ever thought they would do. When people get hungry, when they get desperate, they do things they never thought they would ever do. And right now you can pick a million different jobs. There's 11 million job openings. Yes, most of them service sector. Yes, most of them not career orientated. Maybe not 40 hours a week. So go get 2, go get 3. This is a time to stop making excuses and start making money and putting away for this. Many people out there watching this video today probably have absolutely zero preparations, but you have a lot of time in the day where you could be making some money right now. Maybe not $30 an hour, but you know what? You can go out there and make $15, $20 an hour all day long. And I'll tell you, $15 or $20 an hour, $12 an hour, wherever you live, whatever you can make, goes a lot farther than zero. It goes a lot farther than depending on the system to bail you out. It goes a lot farther than depending on the system to send you a check, because they're not going to bail you out. They're not going to send you a check. It's game over, ladies and gentlemen. You're on your own. Go take those side hustles, convert that into cash, assets, into food, into water, into preparations while you can, because the jobs are going to become very limited here very, very soon. And the people who just snuffed their nose, thought they were beyond these type of jobs, they were too good for these type of jobs, were expecting the system to send them a check, wanted to stay in mom's basement. These people are going to be so desperate, they're going to do anything for a job. It will be too late. Because the job market is going to do this as rates go up and the economy begins to really, really slow down and shrink, and companies begin to shrink themselves and cut the fat. They're going to have less jobs. You will have less opportunity. Make it while you can. Have a great weekend. Please give this video a thumbs up, share this video, make sure you subscribe, and most of all, make sure, and this is what a lot of people out there are not sharing as they make these videos warning you to do this and do that. Many of these people, as I close, many of these people that make these videos daily warning you, telling you to prepare, are some of the most unprepared people out there. Many of them should know that this is a spiritual war. We are really watching good versus evil. And a lot of good people are really going to get hurt here. The churches have absolutely disappeared, have done nothing. This is spiritual warfare. And the best advice I can give you today is not security, it's not gold, it's not silver, it's not food, it's not water. The best advice I can give all of you today is to walk close to God and thank God for everything you have. You may not have a lot, but you have a lot more than a lot of people. So again, walk close to God, ladies and gentlemen. That's the best advice I can give you. And I know that there are people out there that will disagree with me, that don't believe. But you know what? If you're watching what is happening throughout the world right now, you see evil running rampant. This is spiritual warfare. This is good versus evil. You must get right with God. You must be walking with God. And make sure you thank God tonight for everything He's given you, and ask Him for guidance, ask Him for help, and He will deliver. God bless.